in-service today. Couple of things. Number one, I'd like for us, and for some of you this is going to be repetitive. You might go, I've already heard this, and it certainly is going to be similar to what we've been doing a little bit with Dr. Dianello in terms of the cue, do, review, the Madeline Hunter models, so different models. GRR is from Doug Fisher and Nancy Fry. They did some work out in University of San Diego, out in California, and so that is kind of their work that we're going to look at today. We're going to consider it in terms of our own practice. Second goal is we want to link it to our teaching. You know, we want to think about what merit does this model have for me in my practice, okay? There are no perfect teaching models, okay? But we take, you know, as good teachers, you're going to say, this would be kind of good. I want to put that in my toolbox. So today we're going to consider how might that work in my practice. And the most important is to have professional conversations with your colleagues. One of the most heartwarming things I saw last week when we had our in-service with Dr. Dianello was listening to the conversations at your table as you were really talking about lesson design and planning and your curriculum. And you know, a lot of times as we listen in, I listen into the conversations, it's about how are we going to manage this kid, what are we going to do with the problem, what are we going to do with schedules. We're talking the survival stuff. When I was listening in on Wednesday, you were talking about the art of teaching and what you bring. It was beautiful. It was really a fascinating. So I'm kind of hoping we can have more of those professional conversations because there's a lot of richness. All right, and why do we do it? Always, everyone in here said it, we do it for the kids. Create students with personal and academic excellence in the Catholic tradition. And you know, if we're going to say this is our mission statement, then we need to just really measure everything we do by that mission statement. And everything is about how we bring the kids to that. So that's the first thing. We do it for the kids. How do we do it? So what I did is I just want to keep in your mind, in the front of your mind, is our school improvement plan. Okay, the team sat down and did a lot of work, and then we as a staff did work. And so I want to go back here because as we do what we do in our classroom, it really should also, we should be reflecting this. So by the end of the year, spiritual goal, Andy, would you read that?
By the end of the year, using a short exit survey, students will be able to share a scripture passage and will describe what is meaningful for them.
Okay. So at some point, have we had that conversation with kids yet? And maybe that's something that might happen at Mantle, but it could also happen in another classroom. It could happen perhaps as I'm doing a lesson in a literature piece and I'm like, look at the beauty of this lesson. Where else might we talk about beauty? Or certainly in life science, you know, where we're talking about the human body. How did God create that? Using that language in our teaching, how do we embed that practice? Okay. The second one, continuous improvement goal. Tanya, would you read that?
Teachers will develop and execute professional learning communities to advance the goals of the school improvement plan. Yes.
So those voluntold people, the Shelby and Anthony and Leanne, who kind of got voluntold for team leadership, they've been spending a lot more time than they probably anticipated working on how to become team leaders and doing that PLC. And we've been really faithful and consistent with PLCs this year, gathering together. We're going to continue to grow that so that we can start embedding in that professional language. But I think they've been doing they've been meeting a lot more than they ever anticipated. Personal goal, Jeff.
Staff and students will commit to creating a welcoming environment.
Okay. You know, I always think about Carrie when I think of welcoming environment with the work that student council does and the work that she does. And when I come to bring a tour group into Carrie's classroom, they all stop and wave at us. But just what are we doing? How have we really thought about what are we doing to be welcoming in our classroom? What do we do to be welcoming to the students who are coming into my room? Not just guests, but what happens to, you know, do people feel welcome when they're, you know, so just something to kind of keep in mind. The ELA goal, Leanne.
So 75% of students will be in the ready or exceeding category for ELA on the ACT Aspire within 2 years.
Okay, that one's a little hard for us to wrap our mind around because we don't have those specifics. But I think part of the thing that would be a challenge for each content area teacher is, how am I using literacy in my content? How am I using our vocabulary? How am I using those pieces? That one we have to kind of maybe wrap our minds around a little bit more, and that will happen in our PLCs, in our small groups as we talk about that. Math, Michelle?
75% of students will be ready or exceeding in the evaluation and justification categories of math on the ACT Aspire within 2 years.
And here we know what we're looking for. We're looking for evaluation and justification. And I can't remember who it was using that in their language. One of the things Dr. Dianello said really struck her when she walked around is how the teachers were using language in different content areas to support things. So she said, I was listening in one class and the teacher said, I know that you were talking about this with your science teacher and we're going to do that here. And she said, the beauty of this staff was that they were using the language of each other so to reinforce. And she said she was very powerful practice that was going on here, is how we use that. So evaluation and justification. How might I use that in my content area? And then the last one, Carlene, would you read that?
Science/STEM stream, which is science, technology, religion, engineering, art, and math. Goal: 75% of our students will be in the ready or exceeding category in STEM on the ACT Aspire within 2 years.
Okay, so we've got some ideas about that. I know we're going to need to do a little bit of work there in terms of just gathering because of how many people this involves. It's not just the duty of the science and math teachers or technology. There's a lot of responsibility in that particular piece. So we've got to do a little work on how we do that. So we want to just continue to keep that in our minds. The second thing we have to continue to keep in mind is, how are we communicating these goals with our parents and students? So hence, we started with this piece. So we talk about our content for the year or our units for the year. You know, what Dr. Dianello is trying to help us really think about is, what does that year look like? What is important to you that has to be communicated in your curriculum? Or what is important to you in that unit? Okay, so we're going to, want to work on unit design, and going forward, thinking about, okay, now we've got the rest of the half year. We got another half year. Some of you, like Jeff and Holly, kind of repeat the curriculum just with different age levels. Okay, that's kind of a gift that I don't have to do a whole year. I can do semester. Okay, so that's why we're really trying to clarify that thinking of what does our year look like? What does our unit look like? Yes.
With the content for the year by units map, is there a moment in time where we sit down and say, well, these are our goals. Are these maps in line with reaching these goals?
Yes.
Standards?
That's yes. So what the high school is doing right now is exactly that. What they're doing is all of their lessons are going on lesson plan, and I believe you use that lessonplan.com. Does that ring?
I did, but I'm
Plan book?
Plan book, okay. So they're all working on plan book, okay. Plan book, we're going to move to that, but we had to do this piece first. I don't want to dump everything on you, but we're going to move to that. So plan book, okay, we'll pull all those standards into what our stuff is. Then the next step is we're going to do a gap analysis. Based on the plan book, it goes into live band. Then you go, what's missing? And then we do a K-12 gap analysis. So it's coming. Right now, they're doing that first, but I didn't think we were there. I didn't want to do that on top of this. I thought we need to stay focused here, and then we'll move to that, because then that will provide what's missing. And that's what's critical is we need, and then we'll start to see that. But the beauty of that is it's electronically done. We don't have to generate that. We don't have to sit down with papers, and this is what we were trying to do is we would take those curriculum maps and we'd lay them out. We're trying to do that. That's a lot of work. This kind of electronically does it. Live Binders is a different program that will provide that also. So that's what the high school is actually working on right now, is that gap analysis. Yeah, so we're going to do that in April. So we're just moving at a different, because I wanted to get this real solid so that the data that we put in is accurate data. Okay. Okay, and then we plan our day-to-day approach. We do our lesson plans, okay? And that all has to tie in. I need to know where I'm headed. What does my unit need to look like? And what we're going to focus in today is this day-to-day. It's that day-to-day approach. So that's what we're going to look at, that day-to-day approach. All right, I want to show you